me to go here or over there?
Oh yeah, wherever you feel. Sorry, let me adjust this to my height. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Magali Marin, and I'll be the moderator for tonight's event. I also serve as the Director of Enriching Programs here at Illini Union, and I want to thank you all for joining us here for this very special event with Daisy Kent. First, before most, I would like to begin today by recognizing and acknowledging that we're on lands of the Peoria, Kaskaskia, Pinkashaw, Wea, Miami, Mascoutin, Odawa, Sauk, Meskwaki, Kickapoo, Potawatomi, and Ojibwe, and Chickasaw nations. These lands were the traditional territory of these native nations prior to forced removal. These lands continue to carry the stories of these nations and their struggles for survival and identity. As a land-grant institution, the University of Illinois has a particular responsibility to acknowledge the peoples of these lands, as well as the histories of dispossession that have allowed for the growth of this institution for the past 150 years. We are also obligated to reflect on and actively address these histories and the role that this university has played in shaping them. This acknowledgement and the centering of Native people is a start as we move forward for the next 150 years. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our guest tonight, Daisy Kent. See.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Awesome. Thank you guys for spending your Friday night with me. I really appreciated it. It means a lot. And I can't wait to have a conversation after I give my little speech, and then we can dive into any questions or anything you guys might have. So again, thanks for spending your Friday night with me. And we're officially in the holiday season, so I'm sure you guys have finals coming up and things like that. I remember being in college and I was like, whoa, it's stressful, but also so much fun. You guys are at an amazing campus. We walked all around today. We went to a coffee shop. What was the coffee shop? Do you remember? I'm putting Grace on the... What? Something lab. It was delicious. But if you don't know me, I'm a writer, hearing loss advocate, a reality TV personality, but we can put that back. Just kidding. And most of the speaking that I do is at colleges or usually at children's hospitals to kids that are sick or going through some sort of disability. And my favorite thing about talking on colleges like this is that you guys are at such a cool point in your life and things are just beginning for you, and it's going to open up so many possibilities. So I'm just so excited for everyone in this room, and thank you again for being here tonight. So a little background on me. I went to San Diego State University, and I really did have a really great college experience. But at first, it didn't start that way. I was very homesick. It's a very different time in your life. I mean, you leave home and you're by yourself, but the truth is everyone's in the same boat. And so after first semester, I really found my friends and I found what I was starting to be passionate about, and I really dove into the whole experience and I ended up loving it. A huge part of my college experience was when my hearing loss became really significant. So I was going through college and I started losing my hearing. I also have to give a shout out to the disability and education services at this school, because when I went to San Diego State, I used the disability services and I had note takers and they made things a lot more accessible to me. So that was an amazing thing. But growing up, I used to think my hearing loss was something I had to hide and something I needed to fix. I didn't want to be different. And losing my hearing felt like something that should happen to old people. It shouldn't happen to me. And why do I have this thing that's going to make my life harder. And I kept asking myself, why me? Why am I different? I didn't want to have this disability. But here's what I learned through the whole entire process. Our differences are not weaknesses. They are our greatest sources of connection. And I've learned sometimes that the thing that breaks us recreates us and allows more light to shine through the cracks. It's how you go about it and how you can turn something negative into something positive. And we're all different in our own ways, and when you take what once made you feel isolated and turn it into something powerful, that's really beautiful, and you can inspire so many people, and that's with anything in life. And so when I started sharing my story online, it was right before I got my cochlear implant. So it was about, I think it was like March 2022 or 23, one of those years. I started sharing my story online, and I didn't do it to be inspirational. I did it because I felt really alone, and I kept looking for people that I could connect with online or find somebody that was going through something similar that I was going through, but I felt I couldn't find anyone. And I remember thinking, okay, if I'm feeling this way, there's probably a whole lot of people out there that are feeling that way too. And I remember the first time I posted about my hearing loss and thinking about getting a cochlear implant and how going to social gatherings were hard for me, how I'd rather spend time alone than be with people. I was really, really scared because I thought, what if people see me differently, and what's the point of this? And honestly, people did see me differently, but the beautiful thing is, for the first time, I felt seen. And I realized there's so much power and love behind sharing something that you're going through, whether it's something you're struggling with or something that's amazing in your life. There's so much greatness that can come behind that, and you can look back on it and be so excited about it. But I always tell this story because it really reminds me why I started doing what I do and why I turned making my videos into something like this, where I can come and public speak and do things like that. When I first started making TikToks, I remember I was like, this is so dumb. Like, why am I doing this? And I was like, there's no point to this. And I was going to stop. And I woke up coincidentally that day, and I had a DM from a dad. And he said, hi, Daisy. I have a 6-year-old daughter, and she has 2 cochlear implants, and she never wants to wear her hair up. She never wants to go to school because she's worried people will make fun of her. And I saw your videos online, and I started showing her them. And the next day she woke up and said, I want to wear my hair up like Daisy. And it's those moments that mean the most to me and make me realize why I love talking about it and sharing it, because with your story, you can affect and change so many people's lives. You just have to put it out there in some way. And that's what I really realized, is that storytelling and talking about what you're passionate about, it's not about perfection. It's about the truth and being honest. And when you share your truth, you give other people permission to share theirs too. And you help people feel seen and heard in a world where they often don't. And it's so amazing. We live at a time where you can touch people in so many different ways through so many different ways of communication also. And that's what I believe everyone in this room has the power to do. Every time you show up authentically in school, in work, in conversations, in your art, every time you do that, you create a ripple effect that goes far beyond you. Even simple as walking on the sidewalk, saying hi to someone, complimenting someone. You never know how you can completely change their day and even their life in an instant. So every single person in this room has a story that can shift someone's perspective. And here's something I wish someone told me in college, is that no one has it all figured out. And it might look like everyone else has the perfect plan, the dream job lined up, the flawless grades, but they don't. That's the truth. Everyone's just trying, learning, and hoping they're headed in the right direction. But the great thing about life is that it's not about having an answer all the time. It's about staying curious, showing up, and growing through the unknown. And part of it is you're not behind, you're becoming who you're going to be. And all of these things will lead you to those moments. And so I'm going to jump a little bit into reality TV. So I learned a lot about, oops. Oh, here, I'm going to go to this one. Okay. So I learned a lot on reality TV. One of the things that I learned the most is that everybody has a story. I used to kind of think, poor me, that I lost my hearing. I went through all of this at a young age that nobody should ever have to. And reality TV really taught me that everybody has a story and everybody has something. And I bet if I asked everyone in this room, if we handed out a piece of paper and said, write down something you're going through or something that you've been through, and then they all got passed up and I read them out anonymously, you would be shocked at what people have gone through and what they've overcome. Everybody goes through hard things and everyone goes through beautiful things, and we don't always realize that. And that's truly a huge thing reality TV taught me, hearing all those stories and realizing although someone might not lose their hearing, they might have something else that they really went through and we can relate in some way. And so losing my hearing, it taught me compassion, it taught me strength, but the best thing I ever did was stop trying to fit in the mold of who I thought people wanted me to be. After I graduated college, I went into tech sales, and it was a great job. I worked really hard, but it definitely wasn't my passion. I felt like I went into it because that's what I was supposed to do, and that's what a lot of my friends were doing. And I was like, oh, okay, I can make good money in this and do that. But at the end of the day, I wasn't happy, and it wasn't what I was passionate about. And I learned if you're not working towards something you're passionate about, you're not always going to thrive in that atmosphere. And you're at a point in your life right now where you can chase your dreams. You can do the thing that sounds crazy, and that's such an amazing place to be in. So I heard this line one time, and has anyone seen We Bought a Zoo? Yeah. If you haven't, you need to see it. It's like such a cute movie. But I remember there's a line, and it says, sometimes all you need is 20 seconds of insane courage. Just literally 20 seconds of embarrassing bravery, and I promise you, something great will come out of it. And I go back to this quote, and I think about it all the time when I'm about to do something that scares me or I'm about to break a boundary that I've been uncomfortable doing, like speaking at colleges, doing things like that, and I'm scared to do it. All you need is a little bit of courage, and something beautiful will come of it. I even think about when I posted my first TikTok that led to a producer on reality TV seeing one of my TikToks, led to me being casted for the show, and then that led to me being able to share my story and have the platform that I do now to be able to do this like I'm doing with you today. You just have to get out there and do it. And I thought about this quote all the time, especially when I was transitioning from my sales job and I knew I didn't want to do that anymore. And I was like, I want to write a children's book. I was like, how do I do that? And I watched so many YouTube videos. And like I said, we live at a time where you have access to so much information. You just have to go into it with open arms and dive right into it sometimes. And now's the time to step out of your comfort zone and be bold. And so if you're sitting here thinking, I don't know what I'm passionate about, that's okay, truly, because I didn't know either. And it might take a while to figure it out, but these are two things I did that really, really helped me figure out what I was passionate about. So I looked back at my childhood, and I asked myself what used to light me up inside. For me, it was singing on the piano, painting, making up plays, singing in church, things like that. For you, it might be dancing, building with Legos. or exploring outside in the trees. Those things matter, and they're definitely little clues to guide you into what you're going to do next. And I think so often as we grow up, society tells us to fit in that mold of what we're supposed to be, who we're supposed to become. But think about it when you're little. You have those big dreams. You can accomplish anything. You can be anything you want to be. So why do we so often limit ourselves as we grow up? Another thing I did, this was also when I was in a time in my life where I was very low and very sad about losing my hearing, my mental health. I was really, really struggling. I was in college, and like we all know, college can be hard at times. You're figuring out and navigating everything for the first time by yourself. And this I read in a book, and it honestly changed my life. I made a joy list. So you can do it on a piece of paper or in your phone's app, your notes app on your phone. I now have it on my notes app. But you create a joy list. So you write down anything that lights you up. So it might be a hug from your parents, a song you love. It might be when you get a margarita and it tastes perfect. It might be all those small little moments, the ocean, the leaves changing color, which it's a beautiful season right now. It looks stunning outside. Write down all those little things, because those things are on your compass and they'll point you back to who you are. And it's also a great tool to go back and look at when you're feeling down or when you're going through something hard. And so tonight I just want you guys to remember, you don't need to have it all figured out. You don't need to have it all figured out. No one ever has it all figured out. You just need 20 seconds of courage, a bit of curiosity, and the belief that your story, exactly as it is, can make a difference. And so be bold, be you, and keep becoming. Thank you. And I think now we're going to do a Q&A.
All right, let's see if this works. I'm pretty sure it does. Okay, thank you so much, Daisy, for sharing your insight with tonight. And so now we'll move on to our Q&A session, where I'll be asking Daisy a few prepared questions we had asked in advance. So our first question would be, would you ever go on Dancing with the Stars?
Duh. Apparently they wanted my ex, though.
Is there like a specific song you'd want if you were like on Dancing with the Stars, like a specific theme?
I don't know. I can't really. I'm loving the new Taylor Swift album, honestly. Me and Grace, that's Grace, everyone. We made a TikTok to the Ophelia song today. Maybe that one.
All right, now this is a more serious question is, what is the most impactful changes or successes you've been a part of in your advocacy work?
I would say my favorite thing is definitely when I do work with kids with hearing loss or cochlear implants, and especially when a parent reaches out to me and they tell me like they're the reason they got their, or I'm the reason they got their kid a cochlear implant. And I think just talking to people doing things like this, because you never know what somebody's going through. And even little kids, when I go into children's hospital, it might be a kid who has cancer and is going through treatment, or a kid that is in there for like speech therapy. But it's so interesting to see how they can relate to seeing somebody that has something different about them. And I think a thing that's an issue about disabilities is that people aren't always exposed to them at a younger age. And so as you grow up, that's what makes it look and seem and makes people feel so different. And so I love going in to younger classrooms too, of like kindergartners, and talking to them about, I'm deaf, I have a cochlear implant, and just seeing how excited they get about it. And they're like, wait, so you can hear through that? And they're like, can I put it on my head? And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. You need a surgery and a magnet. But I think just being exposed to all of that at a young age is so important, and that's how we can kind of bridge the divide from what makes people different to realize we're all different in different ways.
Good answer. Another question that we have is, what advice would you give to young people who are learning to advocate for themselves while also living with a disability?
I would say becoming comfortable with your disability and becoming comfortable and embracing that part of you completely. I remember when I was deciding to get a cochlear implant, the main thing, or one of the main things I was worried about is, how are people going to treat me? This is going to make me visibly look different. And my older sister told me, she said, Daisy, completely how you approach it and how you look at it is how other people are going to look at you. She's like, if you are proud of it and confident with it, she's like, that is going to mean the most and change the most for you. And so when I got my implant, I was like, I am wearing my hair up until I become confident. And so I wore my hair up every single day after I got my implant until I no longer was like, are people looking at me? So I think becoming comfortable and pushing yourself outside of that comfort zone and making yourself confident is the most important thing. Because at the end of the day, you're the one living with it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Another question is, what is something you wish more people knew about people with a hearing loss?
I would say that the hearing loss doesn't define you. And I know we talk about hearing loss as a disability too, but it's also such an ability too. And people with hearing loss have all the people I've met have such a unique outlook on life and even the compassion that's behind them. So I would just say, for me, there are certain instances, like if I'm in a loud, noisy room, that's gonna always be harder for me, but there's also parts that have made my life so incredibly beautiful. So I think just knowing that we all have those differences, and although mine might be hearing loss, yours is something else. You know what I mean?
No, I completely understand. Thank you. Another question is, what advice would you have for college students still trying to find themselves in this very big transitional time?
I would say dive into things, experience different things, especially if you don't know what you're passionate about. If you don't know what you want to do, join different clubs, try different things, just put yourself out there. Even the oddest thing that you might think you would never like, you might go and try it and absolutely fall in love with it. And now's the time in your life to try new things and have those experiences. So I would really just say, try as much as you can and do as many things as you can and work as hard as you can also, because you never know when something's gonna pick up and take off for you and it's just gonna click, but you're never gonna know unless you put yourself sometimes in those situations that pull you out of your comfort zone.
Thank you. And this next question relates more to your book. Was writing a children's book about your experience something that you've always dreamed of, or what did this goal develop as you grew older?
So I always wanted to write a children's book. It's just always something I wanted to do. And then when I got my cochlear implant, I remember I was looking up TikToks and all over the internet trying to find somebody I could relate to. And most people I saw online were born deaf and had a cochlear implant who I was looking at. I couldn't find anyone talking about losing their hearing and what that felt like. So when I started making videos, that's kind of what I talked about. And then I remember thinking, I was like, if I feel this way, there's got to be some little kid out there that is like so confused and scared too. And I was like, and parents, I know how terrified my parents were when we started first talking about getting a cochlear implant. So I was like, if I can make it easier on a family or some kids, I was like, that's what I really want to try to do. So then I just watched YouTube videos for like literally a week and tried to figure out how to do it, and then eventually figured it out. But that's been probably one of the things too, going back to the question about my like advocacy for hearing loss too. That's probably been one of my favorite things too. And just when a kid sees the book and they're like, she has a cochlear implant like me, it's just, I don't know, it's really special to me.
How long what do you think it took you to like actually write the book? Like there's an idea, like coming up with idea, but how long did it take for you to like actually execute your idea?
I think I started it in May, and then I self-published it that August. But I worked like really hard on it, and I talked to a bunch of illustrators, but it was really fun too.
Thank you. Another quick question is, what is one of your biggest accomplishments you're proud of?
Probably, honestly, my book, I think. That's just been such a really cool thing. I also really love, I do a lot of work with Cochlear, which is the implant brand that I have. And that has been one of my favorite things because I get to meet a lot of audiologists, a lot of speech therapists, a lot of surgeons. And it's so interesting talking to them because they're on like one side of it, but I'm on the other side of it, and having them really listen to me and say, what would have you liked when you were going through the process? How can we make this process better for future patients? I think that has been one of my favorite accomplishments too.
Thank you. Another question is, how has the damage of your hearing positively impact your life in any way?
Positively impacted?
Yep.
Honestly, in so many ways. And if you were to tell me like 3 years ago that I'd be sitting here and I would say losing my hearing is one of the best things to happen to me, I would have told you that's crazy and that will never happen. And I was in this place where I kind of was accepting it, and I was like, okay, this is always going to be something. And people would always tell me, one day you'll realize why you went through this. And I was like, no. I was like, I am never going to understand why this happened. I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever you say. And then I'd be like, no, I will never understand this. And it taught me so much about compassion and about really looking inwards at myself and who I am and who I want to be and who I want to become. Also, when you lose your hearing, when I did, it can become very isolating, and I spent a lot of time by myself, but that also taught me how to be alone, which I'm very thankful for. But I think most importantly, it taught me that we're all humans, we're all here, we're all sitting in this room, like in this moment for the first time, and we're all learning and we're growing and we're changing. And so I realized a lot about compassion and a lot about being there for people too, because I had a lot of really special people in my life that stepped up for me when I was going through a time that felt impossible to me. But I would say, yeah, it's changed my life in so many ways, and I get to do things like this. And I think no matter what you go through, there's always some way to turn it positive. And I even think if you think there's not a way, like a simple way that was really fun for me and that I still do, but going, if there's like a school close by, like a younger school, like kindergartners to like 5th grade or even high schoolers, and if there's something you feel like you can relate about or talk about, or if you want to be a mentor for someone, that is so cool and rewarding, because it's so special to be that little kid and looking at that person and being like, they're like me, they like changed my life, something like that. If you're like trying to get involved or some way and want to help, I can tell you there's like nothing more rewarding to me than being able to help a kid and have them see like they can do whatever they want to do, and just help them embrace that too.
Great, thank you. Another question that we have for you would be, what advice would you give to students who want to turn their personal challenges into meaningful advocacy, just like you?
I would say, this kind of goes off the question I just answered, but yeah, getting involved in things is such a good way to do it. Also, you finding a mentor. For when I was starting my nonprofit, I found a mentor through my school. I went to San Diego State, and we had an Aztec mentorship program. I don't know if you guys have anything like that, but it's past alumni who you could reach out to. Maybe they were going into like marketing or sales or design, something like that you were passionate about, and you could reach out to them. Also, college professors helped me so much. A couple of them I still talk to, and they're such a good resource to get you involved on campus or off campus. But really, like anything you want to do, you just have to set your mind to it and find the little steps to do it. And it might feel like at the time you might think you're doing nothing, but eventually, if you're passionate about it and you keep doing it and keep doing it, something's going to click for you.
Thank you. Another question, this is more about your TV experience. Like, so how was that? How was like the recruitment process as well as like inviting you on TV? How was that?
It was, honestly, I had such a great experience, and I know not everyone can say that. And so I'm very blessed for the experience that I had. It's a little limited, some of the stuff I can talk about. I'm like, can I say that? Sign a big NDA. Grace is like, Daisy, be quiet. But anyway, so how I got casted, I was making TikToks, and then a producer saw one of my TikToks and reached out to me through there. So a lot of people will send in like videos or fill out the stuff. For me, they just saw one of my TikToks, and then that's kind of how it went for me. But I had such a great experience. I made really great friends from it. And it helped me share my story, and now I get to do things like this, which is so cool and I love, so I'm very thankful for it.
Great, thank you. And do you think by being on TV that opened so much more like opportunities for you that helped you with your advocacy work?
Yes, definitely, for sure. And I remember I was worried about it because you never know. I mean, the show I was on is about finding love, but I didn't know how much of my personal story was going to be on it. And I am very lucky to have the producers I did and how amazing they were, because they let me share so much of my personal story, and I think that's why it was able to come out the way it did, because I was really able to share what I went through, and they put a lot of that in the show, which was really, really cool. And yeah, it totally helped me get where I am today, which is amazing. But I also think you don't need a reality TV show to do that. You don't need something like that. Like, you can do whatever you want to do. I mean, if you want to make TikToks, post a TikTok. If you, you know what I mean? There's so many different routes you can take to do different things, especially if you want to public speak. I mean, it's like, go talk to people at the younger schools, get involved. If you're involved in a church, I spoke at churches all the time before any of it happened. So I think just heading towards and finding the paths to do what you want to do.
Thank you. What would you say to your younger self currently, like right now? I know you probably didn't expect yourself to be on TV, like, and I think many of us don't. What would you say to your like past self?
I would say just be you. I think so often when we grow up, we try to fit into the mold that everyone wants us to be. But I think about some of the people that are the most successful don't follow that mold. They go outside of their comfort zone, and sometimes they do things that people say that's absolutely crazy, and they end up being super successful. So I think just, I would tell her to dream big and don't let anyone let you not be you.
Great, thank you. As well as, I'm going to do like a little off-roading. Does anyone have any quick questions that they would like to ask? Just raise your hand and I'll hand over the microphone. It could be literally anything. I'll come by with the mic. Let's see.
Hi, my name is Marjorie. I'm currently a graduate student in the speech language pathology program here. So I just was wondering, as somebody who's going into a field where I can work with children and adults who are hard of hearing or deaf, like, what advice would you give to me as a speech language pathologist from your perspective?
I would say if you're working with children, the parents are a huge part in that. And I think a lot of how you talk to them is also going to adjust what they do for care and how they're going to help them. So I think really having the parents on board and having them really understand everything and explaining it almost as you would at times explain it to the child. Because if they're a hearing parent and they have a kid that's deaf or with hearing loss, as much they're the parent, they know them like better than anyone, they can understand them, but it's losing your hearing is a different type of thing that they can't always understand. So I think having someone like you who does understand it and can kind of break it down for them is so, so important. And the best doctors, speech and language doctors, audiologists that I've had are the ones that I'll go into their office and will sit there and talk to me, and I don't feel rushed, and I can ask as many questions as I want. So I think having that time with them too is so important.
Thank you. Next question, who had their hand up?
Hi, my name is Sydney. I'm also in the same program as Marjorie. So I'm a graduate student in SLP. And right now I work with deaf and hard of hearing kids at a school. And so I kind of feel like I know the process for them after they get implanted, because like they're so young. But I'm curious like how it was for you after that, and like if you went to like speech therapy, or if it was just oral like rehab, or like just what it was like for you.
Yes, so right when I got my implant, I was, if you guys don't know about a cochlear implant, a lot of times when you get implanted, so your auditory nerve is being electrically stimulated, so it's different hearing than your natural hearing, so your brain has to kind of learn how to take it in, just for the people that didn't know. But so when I got mine, I was lucky enough that I could hear speech right away, but everyone sounded like a chipmunk. And so it took me about probably 6 months to kind of understand and get that. I did do speech therapy, and I listened to a lot of audiobooks. And I remember when I first tried listening to podcasts, I was like, I can't understand any of the podcasts. But if I would read an audiobook and have it play and I would follow along on the book or in my Kindle, that was so insanely helpful. But I think also just being exposed to as much as you can. And I know some audiologists will tell you to take hearing breaks. For me, the most beneficial thing was not taking a hearing break. So a hearing break would be if I took off my implant and just kind of let myself be. For me personally, that was not good for me, because when I would put it back on, the sound would sound different. Like my brain needed the constant interaction. I take it off when I sleep, but it's the first thing I do when I wake up. Last thing I do when I'm going to bed. Sometimes I fall asleep with it on. But yeah, I would say I don't even know if I answered your question. I was just kind of ranting.
That's okay. I am just curious, like learning, like as a speech therapist, like I just want to know like other people's experiences with speech therapy and like how it was for you. If
I
it was
definitely,
a good experience. Yeah. Sorry.
I had such a great experience, and my whole team of doctors and everyone that I had was so amazing. And I learned so much, even like little things that I didn't even think about. And especially with my speech too and my projection, one of the things that I struggle with the most is telling where sound is coming from, and also telling how loud that I'm talking, or if I'm talking really soft. Sometimes I can't tell, so that was actually really helpful too in speech, just to learn those little things. But yeah, thank you for what you're doing and what you're going to do. It's amazing.
All right, thank you. Do we have any other questions? All right, I'll do a little circle.
Hi, so my name is Maria. I'm a third-year doctoral audiology student, and there is a lot of stigma, right, with hearing loss and wearing hearing aids, and yet alone with cochlear implants. So I've been in a pediatric. I'm really passionate about pediatric audiology, and I've realized that it's very important to get the families on board because they're a big part of it, but because of the stigma, sometimes some of the families are not encouraged or like are not motivated, right? So I was just wondering, like, what was your experience with your family involvement, and what advice do you have for future audiologists in the field?
So when I first heard about a cochlear implant, I definitely should have heard of it way before it was brought up to me. But my surgeon, actually, who did it, was the first one to bring it up to me and let me know that it's a possibility that I could get one. And I was really freaked out by it at first, because I'm like, okay, they're cutting into my head, like, what? And my mom My dad was on board, my mom wasn't, but she didn't tell me that. She was kind of like, she was worried and scared, and she told my brother and my dad, she was like, I don't think she should do this, like, I think it's a bad idea, like, saying that. And my older brother was actually like, Mom, she's missing out on so much. She's sitting at the dinner table and she has no idea what conversation is going on and what's being said. And he was like, this is going to help her be able to get there. And then my mom was still worried about it when I got the surgery, but also I think talking about it, I mean, people get cochlear implants. I know literally like shortly after they're born, I think, is it like 3 months or something? I'm not for sure, but shortly after they're born, they'll get a cochlear implant, and then there's surgeons that do it on patients that are over 90. And it's a very successful surgery, and it's honestly less scary and less like invasive than it seems. I think there's like a lot of stigma around how it is dangerous, but I mean, I'm not a doctor, but everything that I've learned is it's a pretty safe and standard surgery unless you have a complex hearing issue. And then my surgeon and my audiologist were very impactful too. I remember them kind of laying things out for me. I always say it wrong. It's like the yellow, is it the speech banana? Okay, yeah, so the speech banana on a hearing chart is like where most of sounds is for speech. And I remember her showing me the speech banana and showing what people hear in a cochlear implant, and it was above the speech banana, and my hearing was literally almost at the bottom. And I was like, I can hear that with this device that I might get? And they were like, yes. And so seeing those visuals, and then my surgeon, she also told me, she's like, I want you to think of your life in 5 to 10 years and everything you want to do. And she was like, think about like your happiest like memories that you want to happen. And I remember thinking about like me driving in the car and my kids in the back seat and like hearing them like laugh and giggle. And I was like, I couldn't do that right now. And I remember thinking about those moments, and she's like, she said it might be hard for like 6 months, it might be hard for a year. And she said, but you're going to learn with it, and at the end of the day, like, it's gonna help you be able to do all those things that you want to do. I know it's different for everyone, especially when you're in the deaf, hard of hearing community, because some people are born into a family where everyone is deaf. Some people are born with hearing parents and they're deaf. So I know people have different choices and decisions and reasons why they do their thing, why they do it the way they do. But for me, a cochlear implant was definitely like the best option for me and completely changed my life.
Great, thank you. Right over here.
Hello, I'm Sydney. I'm studying education right now, and I'm planning on being a teacher. And I think something that's super important is just creating a welcoming and safe environment for students. I'm just wondering if you had any teachers you can think of in the past that made you feel very supported, and if you had any advice for future teachers.
Definitely. Well, thank you for what you're going to do. My mom has been a teacher my whole entire life up until last year, and so I know how much love and passion goes into it. So thank you for what you're going to do. I would say yes, I definitely have had a lot of teachers that changed my life for the better. I would say one of the most important teachers was when I was in college, and he was a professor, and I was in a large lecture, and I went into one of his like when you can go in and get help from a teacher, I like went in and was talking to him. And then from that point forward, he would always take like the extra time if I had questions, and he knew I had a hearing problem, and he would always ask me like, how can I make this a better environment for you? And I think also depending on what grade you are teaching, if you're teaching a younger kid and the parents come in and you see they have like an IEP or they have some sort of disability, I think taking that extra step and talking to the parents and checking in with them and saying, how are they doing? How can I make this a better learning environment for them is a huge thing too, because some teachers don't go out of the way to do that, and I think it makes a huge difference to the parents and the kid to know that they're supported.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Julie, and I just want to say thank you for being here, and also congratulations on your recent engagement.
Thank you.
Super exciting. So I don't know if you already covered this because unfortunately we were in the wrong room, wondering why the improv people were so, before you were coming by your picture. So, but I was wondering what your experience was like writing your children's book and what it's been like starting your nonprofit.
So writing my children's book was so fun. I started it right after I got my cochlear implant because I didn't see many things out there for people to look at about what a cochlear implant was. And for me, it was really scary hearing that I could probably get this and that I was going deaf and this was my option. And it was really scary, so I kind of did it because I knew there had to be parents or other people out there who felt scared about it. So I tried to tie in my experience, but also the emotion behind it, and also how great my surgeon was too, and helped me see it would be such a great thing. My nonprofit, I started when I think I was a senior in college, and I got a mentor through my school and started it. Right now, we're reframing things, so that's kind of all in the works, but now it's going to be geared directly towards hearing loss and helping people with that. But so we're reframing it right now, so stay tuned on that. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, too.
Hi, oh my God, sorry. Hi, I'm Haley. So a few years ago, I lost my left ear hearing, and I have sensorineural hearing loss. And it can be very discouraging to see, elderly only wearing hearing aids or cochlear implants. So I was just wondering, what made you most comfortable to, publicly wear it and show it?
I would say, first of all, I'm sorry that happened to you, but you're going to learn so much through it. For me, definitely becoming comfortable with it and wearing my hair up. Also, before I got my implant, I would rarely ever go anywhere alone because even if I would go to Starbucks and try to order a coffee, I was so nervous because if the person asked me something, I wouldn't know what to say back. So during that time frame, I really leaned a lot on my close friends and my family. And I think when you go through something like that, I think you really figure out who your close people are in your life and who will be there to support you. And I think also being honest about it too and saying, this is making me feel a certain type of way. It makes me feel different. And that was something that was really hard for me to do because I never wanted the people close to me to feel like I was hurting and feel like they weren't enough for me in a way. That's kind of how I was thinking with it. But I really learned if you start tearing down those walls and telling people, it only allows more love to flow in. But I think definitely wearing my hair up and also being confident in telling people what environments that you're comfortable in. For example, at dinners, sometimes if I know if I'm with my group of friends and we're going to a restaurant and it's very loud inside, I'm not gonna I'll get some of the conversation, but not the whole thing. So a lot of times my friends will ask me, they'll be like, hey, I'm planning a dinner where is a good spot that you can hear? And I think just definitely trying to be straightforward with those things really helped me too. But I think also your hearing, it's so much of your life and your communication with people. And so how you look at it is truly how other people are going to look at it. I also think if you're open to it, getting involved with, I was saying, a younger kid or a younger group who has hearing loss was so impactful for me, because having those little kids and seeing you doing everything you're doing, you're in college, you're going through this, you know what I mean? Them being able to see, she's doing it and she's there, it's really, really good for them, but also really good for you too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, one last question.
Hi, I'm also hoping to become a speech language pathologist, and I was wondering, on the show, you led with such grace through everything, and I love how you said like your friends would ask you like, where's the best place to eat and things like that. What about the people that are first getting to know you, maybe don't know about this? How do you advocate for yourself in certain environments? I'm just thinking about all the like surrounding noise that's happening can be, I imagine it can be a lot. And as a future speech pathologist, what can I do to help my future people I want to serve help advocate for themselves around new people?
I think being confident and having them know that it's okay to have that conversation. I think sometimes for people that I've met with cochlear implants too, sometimes like if I meet you randomly and you don't know me, I'm not going to be like, oh, by the way, I have a cochlear implant. But I think letting them know when they feel the time is right and if it's something they want to share, it needs to feel right for them and be at a time that they feel comfortable and safe doing it. For me on the show, when I shared it, that was like, I hadn't dated since I got my implant. And so I was really nervous about it. And I was still at a point where I was still learning how to hear with it. So speech was still pretty difficult for me. And I just remember talking about it. And honestly, the producers were great at this because I was like, I've never done this. I don't know how to talk about it. And they were like, talk about it how you want to talk about it. And they were like, this is a part of you. It doesn't define all that you are, but it's helped create who you are. And when they said that, I was like, wow, yeah, that's so true. I'm still me, and this is just a part of me now.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, my bad. I just had to come up here real quick. And thank you again, Daisy Kent, for sharing your story with us.
Thank you all for coming. Thanks for spending your Friday night with me. I appreciate it.
Yep, and thank you for everyone who came out tonight for such a wonderful audience, especially on a Friday. And we hope you have an amazing rest of your evening. And if you are here for the Q&A session, I would like for you guys just stand here if you got the email, and have a great rest of your night. And another applause, big applause for Daisy Kent. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks for coming.